Good evening, Sonder fam. Welcome to our Sonder Social. My name is Bailey Grady, and I will be your facilitator today. We're going to be doing pages 13 and 15 in our journals. If you have not already, be sure that you change that little blue box down by where you're talking and chatting in the chat to everyone so that way we can all see what you have to say. One of the best parts about being able to come to socials and kind of hang out in person is that we kind of get that dose of like community. So we definitely want you to be able to share with the group tonight. So go ahead and pop that little box down to everyone if you plan to share. And as always, as you go through tonight, as you complete your pages, we would love to see them. Feel free to snap photos and share in the app on Instagram or TikTok. You can tag us Silk and Sonder. You can also feel free to snap pictures of anything you see on the screen as we go through tonight as well. But also we would love to see how you set your own journals up. So our agenda for the night will be right after our little community guidelines slide here. So as always, please be kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam, please. Respect everyone's privacy here. What happens in Sonder Club stays in Sonder Club. Even if you're friends outside of Sonder Club, we like to get vulnerable here and get gushy and share all the good crunchy stuff. So definitely respect everyone's privacy, which also means no hate speech or bullying, because this needs to remain a safe space. Try to limit repetitive product and accessory questions, if you will. Sonder Club can be a great place to ask for things like your favorite pens or stickers or anything like that. And if there's any sort of inquiries about like shipping or your subscription or anything like that, we're going to direct you over to headquarters for that. I have the fabulous Jennifer Krippner here with us tonight. She'll be helping out in the chat as my stage manager. There she is. She's hopping on to say hello. But neither she nor I have access to like your subscriptions or tracking numbers or anything like that. So we won't be able to help out with those things. But certainly any questions about the topics at hand, we'll be happy to help however we can. And finally, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So participate at your comfort tonight and always at these events. If you want to share in the chat, I'm so glad. I'm happy for you to do that. If you need to step away from the chat, if you just need to be with yourself tonight, that is totally fine too. If you don't vibe with the music, turn it off, turn your own on, right? You'll be able to kind of see when I pop back on the screen in between prompts. Or if you have already done these activities and what you need tonight is community, that is fine as well. Definitely participate at your comfort and take what you need. So our agenda is we're going to do an opening activity around our theme of nostalgia. And then we will do our gratitude log on page 13 and then our nostalgia playlist on page 15. So if you haven't noticed, we are over halfway through November. So our theme this month has been nostalgia. And I'm sure that all of you have seen and also heard that this can be a tough one for people. And really quickly, I want to kind of read the definition of nostalgia that's on page 3 of our journals, because I found it helpful personally. So the definition of nostalgia on page 3 is a sentimental longing or wistful affection for the past, typically for a period or place with happy personal associations. And that's definitely how nostalgia plays out for me. But nostalgia in general sits in memory, right? Like we're talking about the past and we're talking about memories, which means that it also can sit very close to other things that maybe aren't so happy. I know I personally experienced a nice, good helping of childhood trauma as a kid. I can laugh about it now thanks to therapy. But because of that, nostalgia can sit really close to some of those more unpleasant memories and things, right? But for me, they feel separate. For me, I can think back to nostalgia, and if it's taking me to that happy personal association, that's what that is. That's giving me all those like wistful, like, oh, I can remember like how the pavement smelled outside and all of those fun, good memories. If it starts to change into something that isn't happy, then for me, I get curious about, well, what's going on? Is this sort of a trigger that's happening? Am I experiencing grief? Is this like a longing? What's going on there? So if that starts to happen to you and you're at a place where you're comfortable to be curious, maybe see if you can and see if you can separate the two. But if not, if nostalgia sits very close to some unpleasant feelings for you, that's okay. If you need to take a break from certain activities because of that, if you need to reframe this, absolutely you can do that. If you know that there's a period in the past that's particularly tough for you, you don't have to go back to that place. You can stay a lot closer or go to a place that is more happy and pleasant. You'll see when we do our nostalgia playlist, a lot of my songs and things are actually from just a couple years ago. So you can pick a time frame that might work a little bit better for you. Feel free to frame this and change this however works best for you. If you need to change this theme completely and just do a theme of gratitude, that is okay too. This is your permission to do whatever you need to do to take care of you. I don't know if any of you or if all of you had a chance to see the Barbie movie or not, but I won't give anything away if you haven't. All I will say is that that movie did a really good job of showing how nostalgia can sit really close to some of those feelings of like grief and longing and also play and fun, and they can kind of exist in the same space. I also think to a quote from Harry Potter when I think about nostalgia, where it talks about the mirror of Erised and how, you know, it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live. And I think a lot of people often apply that to the future, but we can really apply that to the past as well, right? So like it's fine to be wistful and kind of like miss some things and think back on it fondly, but if we get stuck in that place where we're missing it and we're not appreciating what we have in front of us or where we are now and living fully present, then it's time for us to be a little curious about maybe we do need to move away from that past, right? So that's just nostalgia from my current perspective. If that resonated with you, awesome. If not, awesome. That's okay. Whatever narrative you're feeling here is good and welcome. So without further ado, we are going to move into our first activity. So this is our opening activity, which means it's not in the journal. So we're just going to flip to a blank page or that scratch, portion of the journal that's in the weekly spread each week. Or if you're somebody that fills up every single space in the journal, more power to you. If you want to grab just like an extra notebook, like the thoughts journal, or even just like a sticky note or something, we are going to think of an event or an activity or a hobby that you enjoyed as a child, or at some other time. Again, thinking about what time might be best for you, right? And then how you could welcome back that feeling of enjoyment. So my brain likes to move real fast. And so I could not think of just like one thing. I couldn't like focus in on one particular activity or event without thinking of others. So I just decided to go with it. So I just sort of made a list of several events, activities, and hobbies that I enjoyed when I was younger. So like I used to really like reading a lot, did it all the time. I liked art and coloring, and I used to ask for like those big like art kit things every year for Christmas. I loved playing outside and watching movies and being with friends. I loved playing make-believe and exploring probably places that I shouldn't have been, to be honest. I loved games, like all kinds of games, video games, board games, card games, you name it. And then as far as like activities or events, like there was a lot of things around Christmas time that were like events that I really enjoyed, and Thanksgiving and spring break and time on my grandparents' farm. So I just listed them all out. And then I took a minute to think about what are these things, like what did I like about it? And a lot of the things overlapped, like a lot of things involved creativity. They provided some sort of escape for me. They let me use my imagination and just have fun and spend time with people I cared about. There was like an element of whimsy. I was able to engage with my five senses, right? Like Thanksgiving, obviously, like lots of taste, lots of smells, lots of like touch and stuff happening. And then some of them allowed me like specific kinds of rest, like going out to my family's farm. That was like a really big disconnect because they're like in the middle of nowhere. And so that allowed me a lot of sensory rest and things like that. And then just change in my routine, right? Something different, something new. So once I had an idea of why I probably liked doing these things and kind of looked at that, I could then think about, okay, well, how could I incorporate that now? And for me, something I've been trying to do is establish like a day of for like a tech Sabbath. So taking a break from technology from like sundown to sun up for a full day. Because I definitely spend way too much time on my phone, like a lot of us. And if I'm able to sort of establish that habit, then I'm going to have a lot more free time that currently is getting sucked up by social media. So I'll be able to use that free time to maybe read more, and maybe I'll go get one of those fun little art kits from, you know, the little art aisle that is definitely meant for kids, but like, who cares? Like, there's no rules. It says ages 8 and up, not ages 8 to whatever, right? I can start going to movies more and doing these things, right? So that's my idea of how to sort of incorporate in these things. So you can do a list like I did. You can focus in on one particular thing if you want to and be really intentional about it. There's no rules here, just whatever works for you. And I'm going to put on some music while you all think about this. If you're comfortable sharing with us in the chat what comes up for you or how you decide to implement this now in some way, we would love to see it. And I do have what I hope you guys will find is a fun nostalgic playlist today. So hopefully we'll have fun hanging out listening to the music. And I'll pack back and forth between these slides for you as well. But yeah, once we spend some time on this, we'll move on to our next thing. Okay, thank you all for sharing in the chat. If you're not done with this page, don't worry. You may find that some of the other activities tonight you get done more quickly. So if you want to pop back to this, that is totally fine. There are so many good memories and things shared in the chat. A lot of people's experiences overlapped, as it often does here. I did want to share just a few things. So Angela shared building a fort with the couch in the living room and playing in it all day. I definitely remember those days. So much fun. Andrea said their dad teaching them the constellations. He was navigator in the Air Force. Super cool. They have those like constellation phone apps now. I always love getting that out every now and then because I always like looking up the stars too. And then Carol said riding a bike to the bookstore with friends, each buying one Nancy Drew book, reading, trading, and discussing them. And she goes to book club now, which is kind of similar. So that's a great way to look at it. Felicia also loved going to library and bookstores, still adores those places and goes every chance they get. And then Brenda said that they remember spending a whole week with their grandma and grandpa every summer and did all kinds of activities, visited other relatives, explored the basement of treasures. And she's realizing she needs to do this with her grandbabies too. And she realizes like it might be a little bit more challenging because she lived closer and everything, but still such a good idea to sort of transition some of that fun into the next generation. And I saw several of you talking about that, which is a really nice thing to be intentional about. So again, thank you all so much for sharing. So we are now going to move into our first journal page activity. So that's the gratitude log on page 13. So the way that I do this page is I always use it as something that I can be grateful for each day. So you can see like mine is close to being done to being filled out because we're towards the end of the month here. So that's how I use mine, but I do have some other fun ways you can use this if you haven't been using it or if you want to do something different with it. So we'll have some ideas and things that we can look at. And Jennifer is going to be popping into the chat some really good information around the research that has been done around gratitude and how beneficial it can be for us. She actually led like a exclusive social where they talked about gratitude. And so she kind of has that stuff ready at the fingertips to share. But one of the things that she shared with me before we did the social today is that in the beginning, when they started doing sort of research on gratitude, they were like, yeah, if you could write down something every day to be grateful for, that's awesome. That's going to have a good impact. More recently, what they've discovered is that if you tie that gratitude to an actual person, the impact is greater. So for example, if you're like, I am thankful for clean running water in my house, right? And I'm sure a lot of us are grateful for those sorts of very basic things, right? If you instead think, I'm grateful for the people that are going to be working during the holidays and monitoring the water and the water systems to make sure that I have clean running water, that has a greater impact to tie it to the people. And it doesn't have to be a particular person in your life that you know. It can be sort of generic like that of, oh, I'm thinking about the medical personnel that will have to work through the holidays, right? And so if I need something, they'll be there for me. Or if you're thankful to have your trash taken out on trash day, right? The people that come by and provide those services for us. And you can see from my list that there are like a few names and things that pop up in there. And that's most often my husband because he's a wonderful partner to me, but also my friend Becca pops up a lot in these. And then on November 11th, I was thankful for good medical care. So that is a lot to do with like the medical team, and I've been doing physical therapy and how wonderful they've all been. So if you get a chance to tie it back to a person, maybe try that and see if it feels different for you. Gratitude can be something as simple as I woke up today and my nose wasn't as sniffy as it was yesterday. Or it can be something more fun, like maybe something you got to do that day, something that's more of like an affirmation for yourself, like thankful for my resourcefulness, right? Or just thankful to be here tonight with all of us. It doesn't have to be super complicated. So if you want to do something a little different, whether that means you want to use this page for it, or if like me, you use this page for something you're grateful for every day, but you want to do something fun during this time, you could consider doing sort of like a gratitude acrostic around our theme of nostalgia. So the example I did is over there on the right-hand side. So I'm grateful for new adventures. I'm grateful for opportunities to grow. I'm grateful for Silk and Sonder. I'm grateful for therapy, and so on and so forth. And each of those things in the lines eventually spell out the word nostalgia. And then if you don't want to get super fancy with it, you could keep it more simple and just write out something that starts with each of those letters that you're grateful for. So like nature, options, sunshine, travel, etc. If you don't want to do nostalgia and you want to do a different word, you can do that. So I tried to do November, but it looks like I forgot to put something for my third N there, if you will. So breaking up for the perfect, as you can see, us facilitators are not perfect either. And also, Jennifer pointed out that this would also be a good time to mention, if you decide to do the acrostic thing, you don't have to fill in all the letters. You can wait and see if something comes back to you. Something fun. Acrostics are always just like a fun, easy way to kind of do something different. We're obviously going into Thanksgiving, so you could do turkey or thankful or anything like that. Your favorite Thanksgiving dish, if it's the creamed corn or the sweet potato casserole or whatever it is. Or those could be things that you're grateful for, right? Like I'm thankful for the nostalgia that the smell of the sweet potato casserole provides me. It makes me think of these things. And then finally, if you're not a big gratitude person, or if you're more of a fun, creative person than you are words, you are more than welcome to turn this into a gratitude sticker bomb page, which is what somebody on Sonder Club did over here on the right. Love their fabulous example. So again, I will put on our fun nostalgic playlist here, and I'll hop back and forth between those slides. Definitely let us know how you're deciding to do this page, or if you're deciding to do something different with it. If you want to share a few things that you're grateful for, we would love to see those in the chat as well, because I definitely believe that spreading gratitude with one another has an impact too. So I'll throw on that music, and then after a few minutes, we'll hop into our last activity together. Okay. Hopefully you figured out what you'd like to do with this page. I saw several people saying, "Oh, I wasn't really sure what to do with this, but now going forward, I will know what to do with it." I did see somebody towards the beginning that's asking if there's one of these in every journal. I wouldn't say 100% always, but here lately it seems like there has been either a gratitude list or a gratitude jar, something to focus in on that, because of all the really good benefits around that. So, but also, I noticed a couple people that are putting a little spin on it. Love to see that. We love to see you making your journal your own and making it work for you. So feel free to do that, especially since it does come up so often. So our final activity tonight is the nostalgia playlist on page 15. Now I know there was sort of a daily ritual around this as well. So if you have already done this, that is okay. We would love to hear what you put down for your nostalgia playlist. And I will talk about mine on the left here a little bit. And then I have several examples that I pulled from Sonder Club. So if you started this but didn't fill them all in, maybe take a look at these different ones on the screen. Maybe a song will spark a memory for you or make you think of another song, or something of that nature. And then I do want to call out as well. So the prompt is to get cozy and write down all the songs that inspire a sense of nostalgia, add them to a playlist, listen to them, and then reflect on what feelings they bring up for you. So if you maybe listed out your songs, but you haven't yet listed out your feelings, you could take your time to do that. Also, if you have already done this and you focused on a particular time period, maybe try a different time period. Or if you went all over the place, maybe focus in on a particular feeling. This is actually really easy for me to fill out because I have a Spotify playlist in my Spotify that's called All the Feels. And it basically is just a bunch of like nostalgic songs for me. So I was able to kind of just go straight to that playlist and go, what's in here? And kind of see what was in there for me, because these were songs that I felt like really brought up nostalgia, really took me somewhere. So for me, Uptown Girl by Billy Joel, like it really makes me think of like my first like puppy love, like crush. He was really into Billy Joel, so therefore I started listening to Billy Joel. I Will Follow You Into the Dark by Death Cab for Cutie. That was like my song with my first long time relationship in high school. Three Little Birds, like by Bob Marley. When my dad had his stroke and he was in recovery from that, I listened to a lot of Bob Marley for some reason. That particular year, he just really got me through, and it takes me right back there. 3 by 5 by John Mayer makes me think of just middle school and summertime and like being a latchkey kid, like running around in like my friend's living room while her parents were at work, just like listening to songs and music and things. Pater's Song by Nora Jones, which is actually the song that we opened the social up with, makes me think of like really young middle school. I was just sort of like trying to figure out who I was, right? Like I was starting to become what felt like not a kid, but also there's just a lot that happens during that time period. So I was like experimenting with art and trying new clothes and just trying to figure out who I was. Which is hilarious because looking back, right, like I'm still trying to figure out who I am. But I was also trying to figure out at like 10. Thunder by Imagine Dragons makes me think of like before every sort of interview or big life change or anything that I really needed like courage to like go for. All For You by Janet Jackson is another one that just like makes me think of very specific summertime memories. Like I have a memory of being in a car with my friend and like her mom was taking us to the zoo, and just like everything that was going on at that time in our life. We were like going to Ren Fest, we were reading Harry Potter, we were super into Pokemon. Like it was a time, y'all. I'm a 90s kid. We're very nostalgic people. And then Carry Me Away by John Mayer actually makes me think of like a very recent time period. It was just sort of my own healing, like post-COVID times. Like I had a really, really tough time with my anxiety right before the whole world shut down, which was scary, but also kind of worked out okay for me because I took some time to really be with myself. And that song makes me think of when I finally sort of started coming out the other side of that. So all that to say, you can see there's sort of a wide range of like time periods and songs here, like pretty old songs, fairly new songs. So you don't have to focus in on all the way back, when things began. You can start more recent or think about something that maybe was just a few years ago. It's crazy to think how much things change, how much music changes. And then, like I said, we will have multiple examples here from Sonder Club. I will kind of just hop through these different slides and things in case one of these songs sparks something for you or brings up a memory. Maybe you'll see something and you're like, oh, that person like listed this song. I listed that song too. I wonder what other songs they listed. And maybe it'll spark some things up for you that you hadn't considered. So definitely let us know in the chat what you're putting down for your fun playlist. You never know who you might inspire. And then after a few minutes of more fun music, we'll close out our time together. Okay, so fastest hour in the wilderness, right? Believe it or not, we have come to the end of our time together. I would love to see your pages in Sonder Club, so if you feel comfortable sharing, please do so. There may be some folks that couldn't make it to the social that could be inspired by what you share, so definitely share your pages with us. And then, of course, we're still doing the refer a friend program. So if you refer somebody to Silk and Sonder, they get $10 off, you get $10 off. Win-win, you come to socials together. Now is a good time to consider upgrading to an annual subscription, put those on those holiday lists and things like that. If you're like me and you have like a birthday earlier in the year, maybe if it's not for Christmas, maybe it's for your birthday. And then we do have a new social feedback survey. So please fill that out. Let us know what you think. If you've been with us for a while, you know that Sonder socials used to not exist and they used to look very different. And that's all based on your feedback. So definitely please fill that out. And then Jennifer will be sharing links to all of these in the chat, but also that ever popular YouTube link. So this social, along with all of our others, will be available for view on the YouTube after a few days. So if you ever can't make it to a social or want to go back and look at something, you can do that. And I will pop the link to the playlist in the chat. That is just on Spotify, and it's public, so feel free to find it, take things out of it, make your own playlist, do whatever you like to it. It was my sincere pleasure spending this time with you tonight. I had so much fun seeing all of your songs and all of your memories and really embracing nostalgia with all of you. So until next time, stay safe. I hope you all have a fabulous Thanksgiving, and we'll see you at the next Sonder Social.